Right, hello. Right, I'm going to sit and clean the tops of the piston, which isn't much, and take off all the piston rings. I don't have a piston ring extractor. They're like a pair of pliers, aren't they? But so we'll just do it I'm not too worried about the old ones coming off, about breaking them, but obviously the new ones going on will be a bit different. And what I normally do is I get a feeler gauge, fairly thick one so it don't bend, and if you have a trouble removing them, is if you put the feeler gauge down the inside and then just pull need a thicker one, pull the feeler gauge round, and then you can just manoeuvre the piston ring up or down. Works a treat. Now for those that don't know, you have three rings: the top ring, the middle ring, and then the bottom oil ring, the oil scraper and cleaner ring and whatever, is in three parts. You have two very thin parts, and then the thicker part is this. If I can find the end to it. Where's the end? I'll show you in a minute. Where's the end? Where's the end of the other one? It can be a little bit tricky, these ones. Right, there's the end of that one. Right, there you go. Right, the oil scraper ring is in three parts. There's the middle bit, and then you have a bit on the top and a bit on the bottom, which sandwiches it. And they can be a little bit tricky to get in. The newer ones, I think I've seen some new ones that are all one piece, which look brilliant, but anyway, these are the type I'm using. So there's absolutely no crud in the piston ring groove, which is brilliant. And what I'm going to use to clean them is just some what do you call this? Not sure. Fibre scratch pad type thing. And a quick squirt of carburetor cleaner. Right, and for the stubborn bits I use just a flat blade. Now I did notice when I first had this engine and I stripped it apart, this is number 1 cylinder, and there's a few something must have happened in its lifetime, and there's a few dents and dings in the top of the piston. Thankfully there's nothing on the sides, but on the top there's a few dings. Perhaps a spark plug broke or something happened, but one of those things. The only one, just a few dings and scratches, so something must have went wrong. Like I say, perhaps a spark plug failed or something. So that's one of the only troubles when you get an engine from somebody, especially off auction sites or whatever. Oh yes, it's in working perfect order, there's nothing wrong with it, blah de blah. But there you go, it's not, thankfully it's not harming it. Right, there we go. I'll just give the outside a quick there you go. One nice clean piston. Okay. One new set of piston rings, complete. What I'm going to do is check the clearance in the bores just to make sure they're correct. They should be. And what you do, you just put this in the bore. Like that, and then somewhere on the book should tell you what the piston ring gap clearance is. Should be 0.38 or more. 0.38 or more. So that's 0.25. So we want a 13 or a 15. There you go. There's a 15. And then you just put that in the gap. Yeah. Perfect. Just do the other one, just to make sure. But normally they're set perfect at the factory, so. Yep, absolutely perfect. So we can put those on. Right, oil ring. A bit of crud on here now. It just goes down like that. And then this is where it becomes a bit tricky. Because the first one's got to go on the bottom. I'll go down by steps. Like that. Go down to the next step. Alright, so I'm going to try and get it over the top of the ring. And then I'll use the feeler gauge to push the oil ring in. Which allows it to go down further. Like that. There we go. The other thing when you're putting rings on, you always stagger the gap. So don't allow the gaps of each one to be in line with each other. Top one's a bit easier because it's got to go in the top part of the bottom gap. There we go. All good. Right, again, now it's only the you won't be able to see this, I don't think, with this crappy camera, but there's a groove in the second compression ring, and there's a top. It must go. There's only one way up it can go. It actually says on it top, but you can't probably see that. And again, we'll just check the fit of that in the ball. Turn it around a bit. Now there's a setting for that one as well. That's 0.08 to 0.03. So that's quite a small gap. So we go back to these. 0.08, there's an 8. Perfect. Some of you might be saying, what's the point of checking them? Well, if you don't check them, and for any reason they're not done at the factory properly or whatever, if they're too tight in the bore, if there's no gap when that, let me see if I can, when that closes up, if there's no gap in the cylinder as the engine heats up, there's nowhere for the ring to close to when it gets hotter, and it will just close up, try and close up, warp itself and break, and then you're in all sorts of hurt. So that's why they put a gap in them, and the gap gets bigger the more tuning, high compression, nitrous, anything goes into the engine, the hotter it's going to get, so the more gap you need. So there you go. So, and again, this has got to go one way up. I've got the glove caught in it now. There we go. Okay. Again, with the top ring, you should only have it one way up. Now there's nothing actually on the ring that's different. On some of them they have a slight bevel, a slight groove, a step. Sometimes they're slightly different. Right, back to the engine and we'll check that one. Put a bit of just make sure it's level in the bore, and again there'll be a setting for that as well. Where's my page gone? And that one is .44. I read that right? move that now. Just checking myself. Yeah, 0.44. It's alright. Thought I was going to do lally. Uh, 0.44 or point. Just looking for a different size. 0.4 is a 5.5, so we'll do that one and that one together, and that will give us the right amount. Perfect. Right. So we can safely assume that they're all perfect from the factory. Alright, don't forget there's a top and a bottom, so you must put it at the top. And there we go. And don't forget to stagger them. There you go. All the new rings on. Ready to go. Okay, I'll get on with the rest and I'll see you later. Cheers for now.